And welcome to another episode of The Wave. I'm your host, Don Texon, bringing you the wonderful Alberni Valley experience. Yes, the experience continues in spite of the pandemic, in spite of the crisis, in spite of all the troubles that come with this pandemic. The wave will continue because here in Port Alberni, we are in paradise. The wonderful Alberni Valley experience comes to you with my very special guest. She was my castmate in the very successful production of Mamma Mia by the Portal Player Dramatic Society. We're going to talk about that in a bit. I'd just like you to welcome extraordinary actress and good friend of mine, Jacqueline Keath. Thank you, Jackie, for being on the show.
John, thank you so much for inviting me. It's really
Yes.
it's lovely. It's a lovely thing that you're doing the wonderful Alberni Valley experience. What a wonderful title.
Yes,
Yeah.
I was inspired because when I moved here 5 years ago, I saw so many beautiful things, but at the same time, I was hearing so many bad things about Port Alberni. Every time it's about Port Alberni, it's the killers that came from Port Alberni and the highest crime rate in the Port Alberni and the worst place to live is Port Alberni. I will censor myself. I said, if these voices are so loud that are negative about Port Alberni, there has to be an equally, if not louder, voice about the positives of Port Alberni. And so I created the Wave, the wonderful Alberni Valley experience. And I'm so glad to have you here with us. So tell me a little bit about yourself first. You were born a British Columbian in Vancouver, right?
Correct. Mhm.
Okay. And you spent most of your life in Vancouver?
Um, uh, no, actually. I've lived and worked and played in different parts of the province. I also was down in California for a while, but I kept coming back to the Lower Mainland.
Uh,
And then most of my adult life, yeah, I could say, yeah, a mix of it was in the New Westminster area. And depending on what I was doing show wise, it was handy because it's sort of the hub. So you could spoke out and get to different areas in the Lower Mainland quite quickly from there. And I was in California in the late 80s, actually came back. I'm
Oh,
aging myself.
California. What were you doing there?
I was working mostly as a nurse down there. That's my
Oh, okay.
yes, because I chose not to be a starving artist. I had a career to pay the bills, and so that's what I was doing down there. And then I came back home in the early '90s and got heavily involved with Vagabond Players in New Westminster. So that was my first segue into community theater, as you and I know it. Was in the early '90s, even though I'd done stuff in high school and stuff like that. But yeah, and I had the pleasure of being in a really nice show there, and have carried on ever since, really. I did do some stuff in La Jolla when I was down there, but not a lot.
Okay. So your profession was, because you mentioned you're a retired professor. Professor of what?
Nursing. So I taught
Oh, okay.
psychiatric nursing and general nursing. I was also a dean of one of the private schools for a while for healthcare. And so it's a nice balance, the creative side and the academic side. So it blends me. I like to, it balances me out.
So when you said you didn't want to be a starving artist, what branch of art were you involved with?
Well, in both theatrical as well as a musician. And actually, most of my coin, so to speak, that I've made as an artist has been as a musician. Uh,
Oh, what
I, ta-
instrument?
I taught flute lessons for a while, and I was also principal percussionist for the Kootenai Chamber Orchestra for a while.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's sort of where I took off, and then I started with some voice lessons and decided that I preferred that instrument over the noisy other ones. Not that singing isn't noisy or anything, but a little more versatile. In high school, I played trumpet, and once you move out of home and you go into a condo, people don't like listening to trumpets. So my secondary instrument was flute, and I tried to learn a little more about jazz flute. So
Okay.
that was
And
what I
we
did.
met basically on the set and the play of Mamma Mia, which is one of those fabulous experience I've ever had here in Port Alberni. The wonderful Alberni Valley experience was just added to by a very successful run of Mamma Mia, in which you were starring the lead role as Donna. When did you start getting into theater and acting and singing?
At, in my early 20s, really. Yeah. And I haven't really stopped. And but I checked out different avenues of being in dramas or comedies and musicals. And I found I really loved the musical experience because I'm also a dancer. And so it did all three. You got to act, sing, and dance. But what I did discover is the larger your part, the less dancing you get to do because you got to sing and do all that other stuff.
That
Okay.
Mamma Mia was a lot of fun, and to add to that was I'm glad we did it when we did it. Can you imagine if we were doing Mamma Mia now and this year? I mean, oh my God, what a disappointment! What a tragedy!
Yeah, exactly. Because there was another group, as you know, that had to cancel their run because of COVID. So
Yes.
we, we were fortunate. And then with Shadow of Murder, which followed, I directed that. My dear friend is a playwright, Elizabeth Elwood, so we got to do her show here. And we closed the weekend that the pandemic got announced. So we were lucky to finish that run.
Yes,
But
I love that play so much. I saw it twice.
oh wow.
Shadow of Murder. Yes, I saw that. I saw Shadow of Murder two times. Although the second half, of course, there was no more suspense or like the
Okay.
whodunit thing was already. But it was so good, and you were the director. And the first time I saw it, the playwright was there. She did a little talk back with the audience after the play was run. It was a wonderful experience, but nothing compared to my experience with you in Mamma Mia and all the cast.
Yes,
And,
we had fun backstage, you and I, and Mamma Mia. Yes.
yeah. Oh, and thank you, by the way, for the little note that you gave Stephen for my rose, because you weren't able to go to my rose, but he did read your statement, and thank you for that. That's going to be coming out in one of the episodes of The Wave. It's under editing right now.
Okay, great.
Okay, so tell me now about your coming to Port Alberni. Like, what made you decide to come here to Port Alberni?
Well, what was interesting is, as I mentioned before, I've lived on the island. I lived in Victoria in my early 20s, but I was starting to get really frustrated with the commuting and the rat race of the Lower Mainland. And it just, too much traffic, too much everything. And I thought, you know what, there's certain things that are stressful that we can control. And commuting far distances is one. And then I went away on my usual annual holiday with Theatre BC for main stage. And my friend, dear friend Joan, who was cat sitting, I got the moving bug into her head. And so she and her hubby were looking at places to live on the island that were inexpensive, and they discovered Port Alberni. So when I came back, I helped them find a place, and I went online and I looked and I thought, you know what, I could retire early from teaching and buy a house and be mortgage free. And based on the prices here, and I could do what I love, which is theater and
Hmm.
relax and have my little garden again. And so that's how I came here. And it was beautiful. The place is absolutely stunning. The drive, even though, yeah, it's not so nice, the windy bit down the hump, but it's really a gorgeous, gorgeous geography. And so that's, plus I knew there was a theater group. That's always a criteria for me, right?
And you
And I
met
know
me.
Peter and Brent I knew. Peter and Brent I knew from Theatre BC, so that helped too. But yeah,
Okay. So
story
what are
of
the things you love about Pearl? So how long have you been here now?
you know what? Literally 2 years. I on Facebook, a memory came up yesterday of me with the last load of all my belongings coming over the ferry yesterday. It
Oh
was
my goodness. So we are celebrating
2018. Yeah.
2 years of Jacqueline Keath in Port Alberni. So again, that's another meaning of the wave. It means welcome to the Alberni Valley experience. That's also originally, the show was supposed to be called Welcome to the Alberni Valley Experience, but it expanded and it grew and here and there. And it became the wonderful Alberni Valley experience, which is going on even in spite of the crisis. I am amazed at the resilience and the kindness and how people have adopted and how businesses have adopted and how people have adopted. It's just wonderful being part. Now, what are the things you love here about Port Alberni? When, of course, you came here already, and what are the things you've seen and heard and love about Port Alberni?
I love the fact that within a very short period of time, you can be anywhere here. So it takes 5 minutes or 10 minutes to get somewhere. And I'm still sometimes half an hour early because I'm so used to having to, you know what it's like. You have to be 45 minutes ahead everywhere. Here you don't.
Yeah,
So,
there's no such thing as paid parking here. There's
oh,
no such thing as a rush hour and traffic. What's that?
I know. Exactly. I remember when I was looking at places, the realtor met me and my friend Joan because she came with me looking at places for myself. And he apologized for being late because he got stuck at 2 traffic lights.
That's
He was
not
like
true. There's no such thing as
2
traffic.
minutes, like 2 minutes late. Wow.
Well, that's the downside as well. Living in Port Alberni, you can never make an excuse of traffic for being late for an appointment or for work or for anything. You cannot be late. Well, I'm just fortunate that even in Mamma Mia, the only excuse I had for being late in rehearsals is I didn't know there was a rehearsal because I
Yeah.
live like walking distance away from the theater. I can see my house from the stage of the Capitol Theater. So how has it been for you in the beginning of your experience? But now, how has it been for you now with all this pandemic going on? You have to stay home, no rehearsals, no more plays for a while. I don't think this is going to be permanent, but little by little, we're going to be getting back into producing plays and stuff like that. So what do you do in lieu of the regular stuff that you used to do before the pandemic?
So what I did is I started a new job, a part-time job.
Really?
March 16th, actually. So because my background is mental health and substance use, I got hired on at the Assertive Community team here in Port Alberni on Redford as a casual employee. So I picked up a number of shifts at a very unusual time, right? And so on our caseload, we have about 20 homeless people and a number of other people that we daily take medications to and different things like that. So that has been really lovely to do. I'm only wanting it part-time because I'm supposed to be retired. But so that's what I've been doing. And when I've not had shifts, I've decided that you can be negative about stuff or positive. And so what I've decided is if I don't have a shift, I'm on vacation.
Oh, there
And so
you go.
so that's how, and that means I can get my gardening done, or I can, go relax and just put my day pajamas on and watch TV all day, whatever.
Well,
So,
you got me curious now. Do you have Netflix?
no, I don't.
Okay, I was just gonna ask you what Netflix series you binge on because I found myself in the first days of isolation. I found myself binging on one series after another. So I gotta stop this. Like I gotta break out of this. And fortunately, Zoom came on and said I'm gonna do interviews. I do about 2 or 3 interviews a day on the weekdays
Oh, wow, good for you.
for
Yeah.
for the show, and so I'm able to post a new episode every day featuring wonderful people like you who are enjoying their wonderful Alberni Valley experience. And we're gonna be could you come by later for your spring roll? Maybe would 5 o'clock work for you?
Yes, 5 o'clock is fine.
Because we have so many orders. We are filling in like 500 plus orders of spring rolls today.
Oh, good,
Yeah,
good.
mom is cooking as we speak. That's a shameless plugging for my spring rolls on the show, but it's my show, so I can plug away. So before the pandemic, were you planning more productions before this thing hit? Like you had Shadow Murder. Were there any other plays coming up supposedly?
Well, I sit on the artistic direction committee at Porta Players, and so we had a number of submissions come in, but we hadn't decided yet what our season was going to be. And I had purposely decided to take a year off from directing but I was certainly willing to help mentor, do some producing or whatever. So that's sort of where I was at. But yes, I was, for this summer, I was supposed to be sort of the co-producer, producer manager or production manager for Bard to Broadway. And so we had to cancel our season.
Oh,
Because,
I see.
so that meant I was freed up. So my summer is not going to be with theater this year, but yeah, so it's hard because how do you get creative to do live theater differently? If you put it on online, it's not live,
No.
and the audience misses that part. That I really like immersion theater, right, where you're enmeshed with the audience, and so that style, I think it's going to take a while before we can do that again. But
Yeah.
there's other things, and I've been talking to different theater groups about what they're doing and what they're hoping to do to adjust. And I think it just makes us appreciate what we had, and that, okay, so now we've got a new normal. So what's that going to look like, and what can we do? Yeah.
Yeah, we got to roll with the punches and adapt and, cope with whatever life throws at us. You throw us lemons, we got to make lemonade somehow, one way or the other. But I don't like lemonade. I like watermelon juice. So you are actively involved with the Portal Players when you got here. Were you actually involved with the theater group back in Victoria? Because you did spend some time in Victoria.
When I was down in Victoria, I was more of a musician then. So
Oh, I see.
I was involved with the Naden band. I played flute and piccolo with them. And so that's more of what I did when I was down there. Yeah, I took a bit of a break there and did my music and
Okay.
music lessons. So I did some concerts and stuff, but not theater in Victoria.
So do you still have your flute handy somewhere?
I did do Pacific Opera, plug them. Pacific Opera, I did do a couple operas.
Oh, cool.
So, yeah.
So tell me a little bit about Mamma Mia. Was that your first time being directed by Cindy Solda?
Yes, because being new to town, yeah, it was the first time I had worked with Cindy. Well, any of the directors actually hadn't worked with any of them before. And I was just thrilled that she cast me in the role because I'm that bit long in the tooth for that role, but I was happy to get it. And I figured,
And you did a great job of it too. I mean, if I remember correctly, we ran that show 11 times because they added two. They added a matinee and another like an extended show or something because there was such a clamor for it, right? And out of the 11 runs, 9 were sold out. Like no, we weren't accepting any more audiences or people in the audience because the first one that wasn't sold out was, of course, the for the cast family or something. What do you call that? The preview night.
yes,
Preview night. Of course, you can't sell out a preview night, and then the first night will not be a sellout because it's the first night. But after the first night, everything else was sold out. And that was just a wonderful experience. I don't know. For me, this was the greatest experience I've ever had. That was my second play with the Portal Players. Because prior to that, I did Actor's Nightmare with Belinda Williams. That was an experience too, but nothing compares to Mamma Mia with all the singing and the dancing. And thank you for your kind words, by the way, which I remember something like, O'Don whispered to me that I'm too old for this.
Yeah, remember you said that? You did.
I did. I think I'm getting too old, but I was. I think I was the oldest member of the ensemble because there were two parts. There was the chorus and the ensemble, and in the ensemble, I was the oldest guy there, or the oldest person there.
You kept up with all the dancers, Don.
Well, dance is another love of mine. I love singing and I love dancing. Actually, I dance better than I sing. I do well. I do both well, but still do dance better. But at my age, oh my God, who was our choreographer? I forget.
Allison.
Allison, yeah, Allison had us jumping and twirling and doing push-ups. Oh my God, push-ups. That's easy for her to say. I'd like to see her do a push-up. Well, she was wonderful. She was wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
And so anyway, to cap off your your story for today. Tell us your favorite, the thing that comes to mind is your favorite wonderful Alberni Valley experience. Sort of like,
Oh, you know what?
I'm sure there's lots, but
There's
the one that comes to mind right now, the one
one
that's,
that comes to mind right away is how friendly everybody is. People
ah,
say hi, they really do, and thank you. And cars stop for pedestrians. It's like, I'm not used to that, right? You take your in the mainland, right? You have to be at a light
yes.
walk. So so I would say the polite nature of the people here is the first thing that comes to mind.
Okay. What's another thing?
Another thing,
Have you enjoyed the outdoors, like the hole in the wall? Are you an outdoors person? You like the
I
hiking?
I haven't been hiking because I had an injury, so I haven't
Oh, I
had
see.
yet. But what was I going to say? I did have something and it escaped my mind.
Oh, well, you did mention something about gardening. I love gardening myself, but I
Yeah.
pay a gardener to do it. I love looking at my garden.
You know what I like is there's a lot of tiny little restaurants rather than big chain ones. Those are lovely,
Mhm.
lovely food, which is great.
Yes, and they are not chain restaurants. They are like unique to Port Alberni, like Little Bavaria. There's the Starboard Grill. There's Pescadores. I guess you've eaten all of them already.
Yes. I have a friend that once a month we would go to a different restaurant. That was our thing. We'd go for lunch.
Oh.
Yeah, we go and check out of the places. Yeah, they're fun.
So what's your situation now? Are you with somebody in your home, or are you just home alone with your flute and your books?
I have 3 cats.
Oh, you're a cat person.
I'm quite a crazy cat lady,
Oh,
but
okay, not yet.
yeah, my friend gets to have that. She has several cats. She can
Oh,
wear.
I see. So, have you been counting your days? You're on what? If I'm not mistaken, I'm on day 63. I'm just 63 days of staying at home.
I've not
Almost.
counted. I've not counted because I've been going to work. But I
Oh,
would.
that's right. That's right.
I have been home the last couple of weeks. So and that was different. So I can see where for some people when they're stuck at home for quite a period of time, it can be hard unless you're creative and have outlets that you like doing, or you're into playing too many video games.
No, yeah, I can't understand that. I cannot understand that part of this younger generation. I mean, okay, fine, play video games. I'm not gonna judge you, but that's not my thing. Now, just hypothetically, if this pandemic wasn't going on, what would you be doing?
If it wasn't going on, I would be
Yeah.
working on a show.
Uh, okay. So next question would be, what would you do? What would be the first thing you do when this is all over
Oh,
and
that's
getting
a
back to the new normal? What are you gonna do? What's the first thing you're gonna do?
well, it's tricky, right? Good question, because theater is probably in phase 4 of the change. So, but certainly what I'm doing now is reading plays, looking at different things and ideas. So the very first thing that I might do once we're back to really, really normal, well, is to head over to the mainland and visit my mom.
Okay. Oh, so
She's
your
not.
mom's back in the mainland, and yeah, sure you would love to. I'm just fortunate that my mom lives with me, so I'm happy. I have no complaints. I'm so happy. The only complaint I might have is like she keeps on feeding me food and more food and more food. I said, Mom, I have to stay fit. Otherwise, I won't be able to get into the dresses I bought, and they're expensive dresses.
Yes.
I just did an interview with Teresa Ludvigsen, and we agreed that in the interview, because we have you heard of the Ty Watson Gala or the Black and Tie Gala?
Yeah.
So that had to be canceled, obviously, because of this pandemic. But in the interview, we both dressed up with our outfits that we would have been wearing on the gala, and she looked lovely. She wore the theme was supposed to be Roaring Twenties. And
Oh,
so she
nice.
had this headdress and this jewelry, and it was fabulous. It's gonna come out in one of the episodes soon, maybe next week. It's a lovely interview, just as this one is. So I'm so glad you took the time to share your wonderful Alberni Valley experience with us, Jacqueline. And thank you. You are a gift to the community. Thank you for coming to Port Alberni. I hope your wonderful Alberni Valley experience will continue to be even more enjoyable in spite of the crisis. Right,
Well,
Jack?
yes, thank you.
Well,
And
that's
we'll
all the time
work
we have for
together.
today. You want to, yes, please.
Yeah, that we'll get to work together again in another show. That'd be great.
Oh, yes. I was going to ask you, I mean, if in case all this thing gets done and over with finally, would you consider looking into producing a play that, well, they told me I would be good for the part. It's called Kinky Boots.
Oh, I love that show.
Yeah, so for example, we were to do Kinky Boots. What's the process anyway? You have to there has to be a proposal or a submission. How does that work?
Yeah, so you do, there's a sort of a template that you would write up and you just fill out the blanks and submit it to the artistic direction committee and they look at it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was planning to do that. I want to propose to do Kinky Boots, and I would like propose that I'll produce it, but I'll star in it too. I'll produce it on one condition: I'm in it as the lead role. I'll buy my way into it. I already have the boots, although I must admit I've never seen it. Somebody just came up to me. I was at the wine festival or something that happens in September. I don't know if we're going to be having that this year, but anyway, somebody came up to me. I was wearing my boots and said, "Oh, you should come out in that play Kinky Boots." And that was an idea. I said, "Oh, maybe I'll talk to people. Maybe we can make it happen." But that's going to be a long while. Okay, sir. Okay, Jacqueline. Thank you so much again. I have to end the show now. Uh,
It's good,
Thank
great
you for
fun, Doc.
doing the show. I hope you will continue to enjoy your wave, your wonderful Alberni Valley experience. And we will catch you next time on the wave.